Hello and welcome to Our Time. And Malcolm, are you all right?
I'm whistling up the pandas. I've got the food. I just want the pandas.
Don't think there's
Oh,
any
sorry,
pandas
we're on.
here. We don't have pandas here.
No, we don't. We have drums today in this episode.
Just
How
to be
exciting.
different.
Traditional drums, or drums from almost all over the world. Mm-hmm. And we have the people from Dreadlocks and Drums performing for us, and we're talking to them about...
Drumming.
All that. Are you going to drum?
I'd like to have a try.
Have you got good rhythm?
I have. Oh, very good.
Must be a method in her madness. We're also talking to Alicia and Steve from Hello World about insurance.
Yes.
That's when you're travelling.
And Sue is talking with James Smith.
Not that Sue over there, Sue.
Yes. Now, he's from the South Australian Museum, and he's here with a book that he's written called Wildlife of Greater Adelaide.
OK, well, get your fingers ready for a bit of drumming, and here's the lovely Sue.
Thank you, Janice and Malcolm. I have a fabulous new book. I'm always talking about books on Our Time, but this book is not your regular fiction novel that we often talk about. This one instead is called The Wildlife of Greater Adelaide. Now, when I saw this title, I thought, Adelaide? Wildlife? I didn't think there would be much wildlife in Adelaide. But I have with me today James Smith, and he assures me that there is a lot of wildlife here in Adelaide.
Wildlife is incredible across Adelaide. It's one of the biodiversity hotspots in Australia and the only one in South Australia.
A biodiversity hotspot for wildlife, Adelaide. That's something we can hang our hat on. Tell me how that's come about.
We sit in an unusual location within Australia. There's the East Coast animals that many people know and are well advertised, but there's also the West Coast, and as it happens, many of them cross over at or around Adelaide. We also are a wet island in South Australia, surrounded by reasonably arid zone that comes quite close to Adelaide. And I guess thirdly, we're also part of a Central Australian flyway. So birds fly from Siberia and Russia all the way down to spend their summers refuelling here in Australia. So in the Gulfs and also in the Coorong.
From Siberia and Russia, they fly down to Australia, and in particular South Australia.
Yeah, well, they fly down the East Coast and the West Coast as well.
And then they come through.
But certainly South Australia.
That is quite remarkable.
It is remarkable, and some of these birds do it non-stop.
How long did it take you to put this book together?
It took 9 years in
9
total.
years.
Yeah.
And when you look at the book, it is absolutely beautiful. It has the most exquisite photographs. This one, just for example. Fishes, just beautiful, beautiful colours and beautiful pictures right throughout the book. I would say this is a must-have for every home, because a number of times I go out into my garden, and I'm a very keen gardener, and I find a slug or a beetle or a caterpillar, and I think, ooh, to me it's a caterpillar, but I guess it has a different name. It's probably a specific sort of caterpillar. And what moth or caterpillar or butterfly does it grow into? It's all in here.
An awful lot of it is in there. Certainly all of the animals with backbones, so the things we think of, mammals and birds and reptiles, all of those are in there.
Yeah.
But when we get to the animals without backbones, like spiders or insects, there are just so many. We would need many, many volumes to do it. So what we've tried to put in there are the sorts of things you would encounter. So when you walk out in your backyard, what's common or what really stands out, or what's potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
So they're the sorts of things that people are really interested in, and we've tried to include in the volume.
When did you develop this passion for all things, all creatures, great and small?
Oh, look, fascinating question. And I don't know, but I remember from a very
child?
young age,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
I was certainly pre-teens, and if it crawled or walked, I wanted to know why it did and what it did and where it went.
So your mum had this little boy that was always capturing things and bringing them inside, spiders and things?
Absolutely. We didn't have any pets, so my pets were the wildlife I could capture, be it lizards or be it insects or whatever it happened to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And talking of spiders, it's always a bit of a hoodoo voodoo thing for people, isn't it? People just don't like spiders. And one particular one that I was talking with James about is, of course, the renowned white-tailed spider. Because I immediately said, "Oh, is that in here? What does it tell us about that?" Tell me about the white-tailed spider.
It's a fascinating story. As I understand it, it's an urban myth, how dangerous it is. Back in the early 70s, there was a GP I believe he was from Queensland, but was seeing ulcerating lesions from what he thought was a spider bite. And he wrote in a medical journal, is anyone else seeing this? And the media got hold of it and said, flesh-eating spider. And so from there, the story developed, and we've heard research was done on the venom and it wasn't considered particularly toxic, and then there were bacteria on them and that was dismissed, and they eat other spiders, so it thought maybe something to do with that. But one of the a toxinologist, Professor Julian White from here in Adelaide, actually did some research on over 100 of these bites from this particular spider, and they needed to be verified, and he found none of the issues that have been associated with it, like ulceration or like repetition on an anniversary.
Okay.
Yes, they can bite you.
Repetition on an anniversary, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, we do get, at the museum, we get stories around, every year on the anniversary of the bite it comes back. But in fact, Professor White was saying how, yes, 2 or 3 days, some people react slightly more than others, but by and large, it's not considered an issue.
And spiders are, and also the spider you were telling me about. No, it was which was the spider that was so clever? Was that the white-tailed spider that would?
Yeah,
the one that would
absolutely
trick other spiders. Tell me about the web.
It's a spider-eating specialist, and it doesn't have a web itself. But what it does is wander around looking for other spiders, in particular a black house spider. And when it finds one, it will go up and tap on the web as if it's a prey that has been caught within the web. So the spider comes down to investigate, and the white-tail goes, thank you very much, and gets dinner.
And the white-tailed spider doesn't get caught on the web itself?
Very clever, knows how to handle the web, and it doesn't get caught in the web.
Goodness me. And the huntsman, I believe, is another. Do all spiders eat other spiders?
No, not all spiders. Some spiders are very specialised. Some will only eat one or several species of moth. Other spiders will take a whole variety of things. If they are a web-building spider, often virtually whatever gets caught in their web. But then there are spiders that live in burrows in the ground, and it depends what walks or crawls past.
Okay.
So they can take a whole range of prey depending on the species.
So we don't need to be quite as nervous about the white-tailed spider. It'll still give you a nasty bite, but not necessarily create that awful ulcerated flesh-eating thing.
No.
I'm very relieved about that. And the huntsman, what is that? Because there's a lot of those in the houses. I've had a few in my house recently.
Are fantastic house companions. They will
really?
eat absolutely. They'll eat cockroaches.
Cockroaches?
Yeah, they'll take a whole range of insects we have within the house. In fact, the first word my 10-month-old son learned was bar, short for spider, and he would come out and look for a huntsman that was living on our wall for 3 months, and virtually every morning he would go looking for this spider. And they live quite comfortably with us and do a fantastic job.
So they're just good companions to have in the house, and we don't need to be frightened of them. Will they bite people?
They potentially can, but by and large they don't. We're not prey, and by and large we're not a threat to them.
No, they just freak you out. Well, it's an absolutely beautiful book. It has birds, it has fish, it has insects, and it's taken a long while for you to compile this.
It has.
Oh, the redback. Oh! Black house spiders, I'm going gooey just looking at the photographs. Beautifully photographed and beautifully put together. A lovely book that would be an ideal gift for anybody. I think every home should have one. Where are these books available? Through the South Australian Museum or through your website? They're
certainly available through the South Australian Museum bookshop. There's also a website, the Wildlife of Greater Adelaide, that they can be purchased from. They were put together from a collaboration, because this was such a big project. No one organisation was able to deliver it in Adelaide, but the University of South Australia, the South Australian Museum, and the Adelaide and Mount Lofty Rangers NRM board, as major sponsors, contributed and made this possible. Wonderful book. Thank you so much for coming in today. I have really enjoyed talking with you, and I would sit with this a bit of nighttime reading. I mightn't go to sleep if I read too much about spiders, but a wonderful book. Thanks so much for coming in, James, and all the very best with the book. Thank you, Sue. And now I'm going to cross over to Peter, who's with Steve and Alicia there from Hello World, and we're going to look at travelling.
And we're back with our Hello World travel experts, Steve and Alicia from Hello World at West Lakes. How are you?
How are you?
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. You too.
Now, we've talked about many things in these little segments we do, but insurance is a biggie if you're travelling. There's all sorts of kinds of insurance. You must tell us the must-haves.
Oh, absolutely, especially it's more so for the medical side of things as well, because over international travel, Medicare doesn't cover it, nor does your private health insurance. So that way, especially in like the US, you could be paying, if you go to hospital, a couple of $10,000 to $20,000 a day. So let alone any extra medical treatment, medications, and also too if you need to become brought back. So we use Covermore as well. So they're a very premium insurance as well. So like you get what you pay for as well. So there are cheaper options out there, but then they don't have the same level of coverage. Example, like with Covermore as well. So they will actually make sure you've got international care for the same equivalent hospitals as we have here in Australia, or better. So if you need to go to hospital in, like I say, a third world country, and they feel that they're not getting the best treatment, they'll actually medevac you out to the closest country that's got the best hospital.
Gee,
as well.
That's pretty good.
Exactly, where other insurances, as long as they treat you, it is.
Well, we've seen a few examples recently.
Yeah.
But if anyone who's seen the news has seen people get stuck and their insurance hasn't covered, they're getting them back home, basically.
Exactly. It was like example, like for Bali with the volcano as well. As long as you do, you're covered from when you purchase your insurance. So that way, if you purchase insurance today, you're not travelling till next year. In a couple of months, the volcano covers. You're covered for that volcano as well. If you got stuck then delayed, it covers all your accommodation and food.
Fantastic. So, Steve, if something untoward happens, do you have to read all the fine print? Obviously, people say, "Oh, yeah, just sign here and it's great." Is it recommended that you actually read what you're signing, these contracts and what have you?
Well, I would read it, but a lot of people don't. But Covermore is a trusted insurance agency now, so a lot of people use it, and after their second time, they don't bother reading this fine print. So
yeah, but you'd recommend that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Have a look at exactly what you're doing. Common sense.
Exactly. Yeah. What trip you're doing might involve different types of insurance as well.
So, and obviously different prices for what you pay for. So what's the average cost for a comprehensive global look after me policy?
Yeah, so it's probably really equivalent to a few dollars a day, like more than a cup of coffee.
So it's not a crippling cost at all?
Absolutely not, no. And at the grand scheme of things, it will be a lifesaver as well. And again with Covermore, with examples with Nepal as well, and it's all a lot of the behind the scenes stuff what they cover as well. They're the only travel insurance company that actually chartered an aircraft into Nepal to get those people out.
Oh, really?
They sent ground crew in there to make sure. And a great advantage with the Covermore, you can actually purchase the travel SIM card if you get free of charge if you purchase their policy, and it's actually got a GPS tracker in it. So if something did happen, for instance, like that, they know exactly where you are and they can come get help to you.
Because the thing is, I mean, obviously third world countries, their medical system is pretty ramshackle, to say the best in some of these places, and you really want to get out of where you are as quickly as possible. And this policy actually does that, it helps you do it.
They send teams out.
Teams out to help you.
To actually collect everyone in that area and to get them back.
So obviously your health is number one, we've been talking about that, but also your personal belongings need to be covered as well. And presumably there's a paragraph that says, yes, we'll give you back whatever you've lost.
Yeah, so even cash, like say for example, even if there's a pickpocketer as well, so say for instance, if you've got cash lost to some, it will help cover up to $200.
Okay.
Yeah, as well.
The travelling obviously can be risky, and you'd be pretty foolish not to take out. Do you get people say, I don't need that?
Absolutely. As well as like basically, if you can't afford travel insurance, you can't afford to travel.
Don't go.
Yes.
Blimey. So obviously peace of mind again. We've talked about travelling with the card with Rowan from TravelX earlier, and it's best to sit down with you guys because you're the experts, and they'll tell you where they want to go, and you'll give them the best cover that they need,
exactly,
the appropriate cover.
Yes, exactly. And that way we've got the flyers as well, so at least it's a consumer one, so it gives you the most important things and in everyday right, instead of reading the whole big PDS of what it actually cover.
Okay, so it's not expensive. I mean, I guess it's probably, I don't know, what, 5% of your total holiday package, I'm not sure, something like that.
Yes.
So you'd be pretty foolish not to take advantage of it. And I thank you again for coming in and giving us some tips.
No worries, thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yes, we'll do.
Thank you.
Thank you, see ya.
do that. Is it your
We
turn?
always do
Or
it.
is it
So
my
you got
turn?
to- Look, we've got a cast of thousands.
do
here.
this time.
So let's introduce them. Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Malcolm.
It's lovely that you could join us. Would you like to introduce everybody else to us?
Yes, we have. What's your name again?
Shazza.
Shazza.
Now, even I knew that. That's Johnny with an I.
And we've got Keza.
Hello. Keza, Shazza, Johnny and Joe.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you're multifaceted. You personally, Joe, are multifaceted. But we're really talking about your drumming and your dreadlocks because that's where you're from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get into drumming and dreadlocks?
Well, I started drumming when I hitched around Ireland as a young person.
But you weren't from Ireland originally.
No, from England, yeah. But my ancestors from Ireland. So I went to look for where my name was from, brought a drum in a shop and just learnt to play in some pubs around there.
Because that's really popular, isn't it, to have that sort of drummy sound with the Irish pubs and the
Yeah.
them and a bit of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a bit of this.
Nothing like a bit of this and that.
Bit of that, yeah, bit
Yeah.
of that. But do you feel like with the rhythms and things that you're all creating, do you feel is it sort of akin to heartbeats or something? What makes us as human beings so attracted to rhythm? Because we are, aren't we?
We are, and I think in the womb you feel your mother's heartbeat, don't you? You know, you've innately got that.
I never thought that. That's,
Yeah.
From being a fetus, that boom, boom, boom. You know, and I think it's just a different version.
Actually, I've never considered that. That's a great way to explain it.
Yeah.
Because you can't, if there's music or a rhythm playing, everybody before...
You're tapping your feet.
You're tapping your feet. Doing something, aren't you?
And people might think that they haven't got rhythm, but everybody has some sort of
Born
rhythm.
with rhythm,
Yes.
as they say.
Yes.
So were you?
I think I probably was, yes. I've been playing music since I was 5 years of age. So started with the piano and then sort of progressed through and I love my drumming now and
Well, it's
my
similar because
percussion.
you've got to hit the string with the
That's
hammer.
right. Yes,
Same as the
yes.
hand on
You have to have some sort of rhythm. And but
In the
I love
Country Women's Association, where you had scones and jam and cream for lunch.
Look,
we just
they-
discovered that bit of
They
information.
love me doing my drumming in the Country Women's Association, and plus also all the smalls. I do a lot of the bells and the shakers and things like that.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not just about the drumming.
They're just percussive.
Yes,
Yes,
yes. I'm known as the smalls girl.
You
take that any way you like.
How did you get involved with all this?
Oh, I'm quite recent, really, over the last few years. It was pretty much accidental. I went to a wellbeing weekend and one of the modalities was drumming, and here I am.
Drumming in a group.
Yeah.
Johnny with an eye.
Well, I remember as a young boy, very young boy, I used to play the bread tin on the front porch of our house. And it had some really good sounds, actually, because you could play four sides of it.
Yep.
And I never touched a drum then until 2001, when a friend of mine invited me to a drumming lesson. That night I paid $400 for a drum, and I've never looked back since.
Amazing. But you've really brought them all together, Joe, haven't you?
Yeah.
And tell me how, why, where.
Well, we just met at various drum circles, and actually I just wanted them to be with me all the time.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
So you bought a big house and you moved there.
You tend to have an energy. You tend to kind of similar personalities tend to gel together and have an energy, and you can kind of feel that then when you play. You can
So
feel.
why
the
haven't you
energy.
got dreadlocks too, like Joe has?
Because Joe hasn't.
Country Women's Association.
And she's too busy. She's booked up, and so she can never get my dreadlocks done. But don't worry, the Country Women's Association will see me with dreadlocks one day.
Right. Well, I can't wait.
I'd like to see that.
And the dreadlocks, where did that come from?
This just started as, as a student. As a student, I've got curly hair, it's difficult to manage, and for me it was just easy.
But you've now made a business out of it, haven't you?
Yeah, it's really
Because you're
popular.
doing the drums and the...
Yeah, so 4 days out of 5 I'm in my studio dreadlocking, and once a week I'm out drumming. doing drum community groups, really.
Yep.
Around Adelaide, which will be mental health groups or physical disabilities or schools.
So when you're out and about performing and getting others to join in with you, do you feel that the rhythm that's created sort of is an intrinsic thing of human life?
Yeah, absolutely. It engages whoever hears it, and it calls you. When you hear rhythm, you kind of go towards it.
Actually, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
These are things we don't usually think about.
I know. Is it easy to learn, though? Is it an easy thing to learn? I mean, have you all found it easy to get into?
Easy.
I think drumming is the easiest instrument to learn.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But even to do it as a group, then to actually find something...
Sort of harmonise together.
You need to practice.
You need
Yeah,
to
I
listen
guess.
to each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you listen to each other and you leave space for one another.
Okay, let's find out a bit more about this. Will you come back in a tick? I know you've got all your drums over there.
Yep.
Let's have a listen to how it all comes together and what it all sounds like. We'll be back in a moment on Our Time. Welcome back to Our Time. So Janice is over there, Levette's here, Susie's here, Jan is there, and Andre is right over there, and the rest of the crowd. Joe, teach us, please.
Okay, guys, I'm going to teach you a song from the Amazonian rainforest by the Baka tribe. It means my heart is happy, and it's called Bumbalena. And it's just a real simple beat that we can do like this. So we just start clapping, 3, 4, bringing it onto the drums. Okay, and then if you want to fit something else in the edge. And then just do whatever you feel, whatever comes natural. And if you get lost in it, just go back to your 1, 2, 3, 1.
manager who's madly giving us signs that it's almost time to go. Andre, Jan, Sue, and everybody else, thanks for being part of Our Time. And we hope you become part of Our Time next time. Don't forget to find us on Facebook, and you can also find us on YouTube. So until next time, keep yourself nice, keep drumming. Till then. Great stuff, guys.
Bumbalena,
You'll be singing that all night.